that up into a new item once a resolution is passed, as long as it's within the same org. That way, we keep all the money in one org. Council passes the resolution, we can roll it up and then spend accordingly. To supplement and make some of the contracts whole that we have there. Remember, block grant money allows us to be able to move money in human services between different orgs. Now, this block grant money was specific for drug and alcohol and mental health. The benefit of that is that we are then able to take other block grant money that has restrictions elsewhere that might have been able to be applied to those and, you know, maneuver them to other departments that have a need. So that's where the need fell. There may be the need when we do the November budget amendment based to kind of tweak that a little bit if it falls outside that 10% in human services. But that remains to be seen. Right now, that is the best we got from human services related to where those monies would make the most impact.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Are you explaining to me what the 6,177,043 TI COVID, is that a COVID-19 relief? It's in two different spots, 43? One's for 2.2 and the other one's for 745,000? On the next page.
Okay, so on the next page, that is, so what we have to do is when we have that money, so the way that works is because it's in pooled subcontracted services for mental health. The county budget was the $7.4 million. We are increasing it the additional $2.5 million. So what you're looking at is you're actually looking at the money going into the $27 million going into the account where we're looking at COVID, the COVID CARES Act money. Then we are making the transfer once we receive that money into human services, and we're adjusting those budgets accordingly because there was already money of $7.4 million and $1.4 million in those two line items. We're just increasing it all the more with CARES Act money. Does that make sense?
So now it's at 9.7.
Correct. And 2.1.
This is part of the budget we're under now? That's what the money is for?
Correct, for the 2020 budget.
20 budget, okay.
Yes.
Can I ask the naive question?
Sure.
So you have that drug and alcohol and mental health money listed under C and ED. And then it's relisted here as a breakout under human services. So why is it in two places?
Because when money comes in, we have to make sure that we transfer money out. We do this with every budget amendment that we have that comes through. So if for every dollar that comes in, we have to have a corresponding expenditure. And since it's going to be spent out of a different org, because it's a block grant to human services, we need to move it under their control into the human services funds where they are, where those folks have signature power.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, apparently Tara Zarinsky's on the line. So, Tara Zarinsky.
Did she have a question, or you just informed me that she's here?
No, I didn't
Okay,
want-
thank you.
Do you have any questions? Oh, sorry. Do you have any questions? No, thank you. Okay. I just wanted to be aware.
Oh, thank you, I didn't know. Any other questions? Motion to move forward to tomorrow night's meeting? Thank you. Next is a discussion regarding a proposal to allocate CARES Act funding to school districts, seniors, and veterans to assist with Wi-Fi and electronic equipment needs.
If I may. We do have a guest here to speak directly regarding this resolution. I'd like council's approval to have him come up and just say a few words, if I can. Michael Koch is the Director of Secondary Education from the Easton Area School District.
Thank you, council, for everything that you do for the county of Northampton, particularly the residents of Easton and our school district. As I looked at the resolution and the potential $100,000 come to the Easton Area School District, I wanted to make sure that you understood our district's support, but also our district's gratitude that the board is looking at such an option and support for our neediest families. As you know, roughly 10 to 15% of our population in the Easton Area School District is without stable internet access. Those are typically informal numbers. It's very difficult for us to gather some very specifics because many of these people have difficulty submitting such surveys digitally. The district itself has a population of over 48% of our students who receive free and reduced lunch. That ranges in our buildings anywhere from 30 to 78%. That equity gap that our students go through on a daily basis is actually widened by the lack of access to internet and broadband services. So you're looking at this would do a great deal of support to reducing that equity gap for the students of the Easton Area School District. There are many things that take place during the course of a school day and afterwards that will require that internet access, and the COVID-19 pandemic has compounded that greatly. And that equity gap has actually grown. And so it is extremely important that we provide both efforts at the county level and at the district level to narrow that equity gap. The district is putting forth a K-12 device allocation for the start of next school year. It'd be greatly appreciated to have those vouchers and that ability to support those families with that robust internet access in each of their homes. So once again, our support from the district, but also our gratitude that the county council is looking specifically at allocating this dollar amount for the Easton Area School District and surrounding districts as well. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Myers?
So what we're saying what we're basically saying this is you're going to use this for internet to provide, or is it also going to laptops, or you have that, or with tablets?
The school district has already allocated budget lines to supply every student in the Easton Area School District with an iPad K-12 for the start of the next school year. These vouchers are specifically for that broadband access to make sure that once that child takes that device home, they have the ability to have consistent and robust internet access. I think a lot of our families will say, do we have access to the internet? The question would be yes. That may be mom or dad's cellular device. That may be the neighbor's Wi-Fi communication. That may be going to the library, the Boys and Girls Club, which are really great opportunities and options for our families. But they do need it in the home to shrink that equity gap.
Is that going to defer some of the cost, or have you already negotiated with the two cable companies?
We have no negotiation right now with those cable companies, other than their CARES Act funding from the spring, where they provided some intermittent access to some families. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do we have any questions about Mr. Cusack?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I think the one question that I would have is, in the past, we've given grant money to the community college as well. Was any consideration given to Northampton Community College as part of this?
Tina could speak more directly to this. They have made a CARES Act specific request that is not yet before you because it was significant and not related to Wi-Fi access. I think what we're trying to do here is work with the school districts to get these underserved kids the ability to get educated that they don't have right now. What good is an iPad if you can't connect to the school district, right? So, but you may see a proposal from the community college in the very near future. That is significant.
Thank you. Mr. Myers?
Tina, how are we going to benefit the veterans with this? Because I see it's part of it, as a veteran.
When we talk to Human Services, we're going to work with both service providers to come up with vouchers. So they currently have programs for schools that we're going to look to continue. The first 2 months are free, and then it's $10 per additional month. So each of these vouchers will essentially be able to cover a veteran or a family for an approximate year's time. So Human Services or Veterans Affairs will then have these vouchers that they can give out to the veterans in need, just as the school districts are going to be distributing them to the kids in need.
Thank you.
Sure.
Could I follow up on Mr. Meyer's question? For the school districts, obviously, they have, income. They know who has a reduced price or free lunch. How do you tell for a senior or veteran, is this means tested, I guess is what I'm getting at?
Well, I think, and I don't want to speak for Human Services, I honestly don't know how they would validate the Veterans Affairs Office, but I do know a little bit more about the Human Service senior aspect of it. We've got county housing facilities that are obviously income qualified residents, which 2 units of those alone could soak up a portion of what they need. In addition, Sue and I had talked about our seniors at Graysdale because they had needs for iPads for communication with the Graysdale residents on each floor that is a need that's not been met, and the electronic equipment would also be an eligible expense.
Like I said, I would just hope that there's some sort of means test for the veterans or seniors, because I think we're leaving it a little wide open.
And what if somebody doesn't live in one of those facilities, but has need? How would they be identified?
Probably through our Human Services Department, through emergency services. I mean, they've got those case files. We help them through housing navigation. I mean, we've got access to all of that information that we can make sure that they are income qualified.
Go ahead, Mr. Hackman first.
Tina, I like the idea of the NERC Graysdale. I think that's great, particularly since the CDC said we may be going for
Right.
quite a long time with this. Are we going to, so would the plan be to try and get as much interconnectivity with the residents that need it in Graysdale? I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, who knows when we're going to be able to open up the doors to Graysdale for visitors to come in, but it may be quite a while.
Yeah.
So is part of the goal, I don't know if you know, or maybe the county executive, I mean, is this something that we might be looking at very closely to see if we can make sure all those folks over there can have the opportunity?
Yeah, Mr. Heckman, we just had our Graysdale meeting this afternoon that we have monthly, and it's heartbreaking when you talk about these folks not getting to visit with their relatives. What Graysdale is doing right now, they are making and taking advantage of the big windows. Folks can come and see their loved ones at the windows, and although it's not, it's not as personal as we might like, even if they're seeing them out of doors, they're going to be 6 feet apart and with masks. But with that said, we are waiting for the DOH to give us the green light to have the outdoor. We've been talking for a month and a half about how we would do it in the Graysdale Gardens and other places, to have the 6 foot of separation so the loved ones can come and see their residents at Graysdale. We needed, I believe, 14 straight days of no new infections to be in the nursing home green phase. So we're at 5. Keep your fingers crossed. 5 days of COVID-free at Graysdale. Amazing, right? God bless those people. But if we get another positive, we go back to, it's like Candyland or whatever. You go back to the beginning. So is that Chutes and Ladders? I don't.
No, it's
been
Candyland. You go back to that
Okay.
mudslide.
But, so, yes, we're trying. I'd defy the DOH now if I had my druthers, but the Graysdale administrators do not wish to do that.
Thank you. I do think that using whatever we can for Graysdale's a great idea.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. McGee?
I'll be brief. To follow up on Mr. Myers' question about the veterans, I'm glad he picked up on that. Is there on the application for admission to Graysdale, there's probably a question that says if they're a veteran or not, right?
No, I don't know the specific answer to that, but we can find that out. It seems to me that that is a status that we'd know about.
Yeah.
Of a veteran status at Grace. A lot of them are treated at the VA.
Right.
So we would know that as well. So we have, I'm aware of at least 4 or 5 that folks that go back and forth from the VA to Graysdale, so yeah. And as far as I don't know about applying a means test, but with respect to AAA, and Mr. Heckman might remember this from his time there, you know who the folks are that are getting the heating assistance. I mean, there are all different
So they
kinds
could
of
pull
ways.
some of those.
And just to make sure that we're not assisting well-to-do folks getting connected to the internet, the Veterans Affairs Office will get pretty clear guidance from the director on, who needs to be served with this money.
Well, that was where I was going next, is the Veterans Affairs guy, and not to make it convoluted or anything, but is he going to be weighing in on this or being a part of this
Well, he-
process?
I imagine he's going to be the clearinghouse, if you will, for vets who can't get connected to the internet. And so there's a question as to, why would we do this? Why would we do this at all? The kids, it's like fairly straightforward as to why we would do it. But for veterans and seniors, there are lots of low-income veterans and seniors out there, and so much of what we do today is done on the internet. Somebody said that to me. They said, well, why would you do this? I mean, what do they need to play on the internet? No, you're not playing. If you have a problem with Social Security, very, very often you have to go through the internet to get that worked out. So many different things. Online shopping, what happens if you can't go to a store because you're a senior who has a little less money? You shouldn't be able to go shopping, right? So that's why we're doing it.
So they're going to have to draw a line on, how much they're going to give per person, and then senior, veteran. What if they have 2 categories, senior and veteran? So I know it's going to,
So we're talking about $175,000.
Yeah, it's not a lot,
The need, I promise you, the need far outstrips
Sure.
the ability for us to help. And I will have Sue, she'll be here tomorrow, I think. She'll be able to tell you, I think, more specifically how we'll go about ensuring that this isn't an upper middle class, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Myers? Oh,
2
I'm sorry.
questions. First, because North Catasauqua is part of our area, how are we splitting that with Northampton?
You mean-
Catasauqua School District.
Yeah, no, we won't be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it on them to help those folks out?
Right, and I think those kids all live on the other side of the river, right? I mean, so, and Lehigh got 33 million, so,
Okay.
and, they're waiting for about a month to have their master plan before they move forward, I read in the paper. So hopefully, they'll take care of the Catasauqua School District.
Yeah, as I was looking through, I saw that was missing. The only other question I have, are we going to tap into the Housing Authority to make sure we touch base with those folks about seniors that are in Northampton County?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Because I know we have quite a few that are in downtown Easton in those 2 buildings there.
And our senior centers.
And that's the other question I was going to ask. Our senior centers going to make contact there? Okay, that answers all my questions.
How do we make sure the schools use this money for what it's intended?
They're only going to get vouchers.
So what is a voucher?
They're going to get a voucher that they will pass out.
Excuse me
to
for 1
the-
minute.
Tara, you need to mic your phone. Okay.
Sorry, we're just trying to get,
It's okay.
you don't have any questions.
I wanted to hear what you had to say. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
So they're going to get a voucher.
So yes, we will be creating the vouchers to distribute to the school district, who will then distribute it to the income qualified families that they will be very well aware of. So once those are exhausted, again, if they have any technical needs, iPads or laptops or whatever provisions they give to those students, they will let us know. It seems like most of the districts I've spoken with have that already taken care of, so the large majority of this money will strictly be for those internet vouchers.
Yeah, the issue is, because most schools have some form of technology now, right?
And
It's
if
just
they
what can do
didn't,
with
they
it when
had to
they're
hurry
home.
up and get it to finish out this past school year.
But I appreciate Mr. Myers bringing up North Catasauqua because is there any way for those families to apply directly for vouchers? I mean, we can wait and see, but
I'm not following the question.
there are students in North Catasauqua that don't, that are our residents in Northampton County, but they don't go to any of these schools. So if those residents had need that was not provided by Lehigh County, could they apply or request for a voucher?
Yeah, I don't see, look, the Catasauqua School District should take care of the needs of the students of the Catasauqua School District. But if there are Northampton County residents who attend the Catasauqua School District, we'll take care of it.
Okay.
There's money.
Okay, thanks.
Is the Veterans Affairs guy going to be here tomorrow for,
Mr. Ramirez?
or is he following the,
I don't know, but I can certainly
because this is directly affecting
talk.
his.
It is, but I know Sue Wondolowski plans to be here as his director, and so I'm sure if he's not here personally, she can
Thank you.
speak for Veterans Affairs.
Okay, are there any more questions regarding this issue?
I just want to say, I think, yeah, the seniors, however it parses out, I think it's still a good idea because, I mean, all these agencies have cut back on person-to-person discussions. I know a lot of seniors yet at this day and age who are frustrated completely having to get online or finding a way. So I think it's a good idea. In fact, if and when the world allows us, maybe we could even fund some training at the senior centers or something, or to help. I just know, talking, it's my crowd. I talk to a lot of seniors and they, I mean, they go, wow, like the executive said about shopping and that, and it's just, they get very frustrated. And most of the agencies now have cut back to phone lines or computers. So it's difficult, but I think it's a good idea to pursue the senior.
Yeah, I agree, and, we've actually talked about that internally, so, maybe one day if we can maintain that green status, we can have, some of our students to come in to train the seniors on how to fulfill your grocery order on Instacart or whatever it is, so.
I might need
Since
that.
we have a school representative, maybe we can throw that bone at his area and maybe he can, we on the same page, Mr. Cook? Okay, we'll make sure that happens.
I know you're covering your own. I got you. All right, so do we need a motion to move this forward to tomorrow evening?
Can I also confirm, did everybody receive the acknowledgement letter from Northampton School District as well? Okay. Okay. Okay,
So
thanks.
moved.
All right, so done. Discussion regarding a proposal establishing a new COVID-19 testing site using CARES Act funding.
And if I may, for this
should
one
have a
as well, I
stool.
have another special guest in the audience this evening. If I can introduce you to Amy Nyberg, who is the president of Coordinated Health, which is a division of Lehigh Valley Health Network.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you to the committee and the council for all of the work that you do for the residents of Northampton County. And as a representative of Lehigh Valley Health Network, we're certainly, it's a delight to be able to extend your service to the residents of Northampton County by offering a drive-through testing site. We plan to open the site by the end of July, planning for the week of the 27th, possibly on the 27th. We're working out a few logistics on the exact date. The testing will be offered, of course, to anyone who has insurance and has one or more symptoms. No doctor's order is required. If the patient is a resident of Northampton County, whether or not they have insurance, they will be tested. We will document and provide the results for all tests, and where available, we'll bill insurance for those tests. Whether if it's denied and the patient is a resident of Northampton County or they do not have insurance, we've worked out the invoicing with Tina's office for $100 per test for those patients.
I'm sorry, I missed the date that you would start this service?
The week of the 27th of July. The site will be located at 3100 North Emmerich, which is our coordinated health location, now part of LVHN. It has a very nice-sized lot. The ingress and egress is very safe, and we can probably have 20 or even 30 cars that are lined up without impacting the parking or having anything go out onto Emmerich, any traffic out onto Emmerich Boulevard. So that's why that site was selected. It also has easy access from both 22 and 33, and is very visible, so easy for people to find. Hours and days will be 10 to 4, Monday through Friday. We can, of course, adjust that, but that's what the other test site, I think, has been operating and has seemed to have been adequate. And we expect up to about 40 patients a day. I think the numbers right now are lower, but certainly as activity continues, we may see those numbers increase. The last thing is we will be following up with patients individually with their results. Their results will be available through the patient portal, My LVHN, or we'll call patients with a positive result. And we will follow up with patients that need any follow-up care, as well as conducting the contact tracing for any patients who do test positive for COVID-19. Anything I missed, Tina?
Mr.
Any
Myers?
questions?
I got a couple. Okay, so we are testing folks who are not insured, that's correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. What about folks who don't have transportation and can get there by bus that are poor? They can walk up? That was the concern. When I was listening to what you had to say, I wanted to make sure that was available to people that, because there are folks who don't have transportation. I guess you answered my questions.
Any other questions?
The only thing I would maybe think about was, your hours are really typical hours, which I understand why you pick them, but, maybe one day spread them after typical work hours, or maybe a short time on a Saturday might allow people that otherwise just won't go at those current hours.
Agreed.
Yeah, other than that, I think it's great. I appreciate you teaming up with the Lehigh Valley Hospital Coordinated Health, teaming up with the county. Thank you very much. I think testing is critical to get past this point in time. So thank you for that. I appreciate you working with us.
Happy to do it. And we can look at evening, that location actually is open on Saturday mornings, so for. Yes, for injuries. But we can look at some Saturday hours as well and work with Tina on that.
Or later evenings, because some people, if you're working the
Yes.
same time, that's a great idea. Mr. Cusick?
Yeah, thank you for coming. What would be the time frame between the testing and the results being given to the patient?
Very good question. Unless insurance directs otherwise, all of the samples will be taken to H&L Lab Medicine Health Network Labs, which is also a division of LVHN. And we're fortunate that their testing capacity is very high. New capacity will be added in the fall as well. But currently, there are around 2,500, 2,700 tests a day that are being performed. And increasingly many days, because H&L is supporting many nursing homes and other senior living facilities with testing, plus all of the other diagnostic testing that is occurring. They're increasingly getting closer to that capacity. The turnaround time depends on how many tests have been ordered versus the capacity. H&L's turnaround time right now is right around a day, which is better than many of the larger labs, where we're seeing turnaround times when we do have to send out being 4, 7, sometimes even 8 or 10 days. And of course, testing demand is increasing all over the country right now. We are also very fortunate that we are supplier independent for certain consumables, for parts of the reagent and some of the other consumables, and even swabs. We can 3D print swabs if necessary. So that enables more testing regardless of supply chain. H&L is well-positioned to have access to the supply chain as needed because of the dependence of so many residents as well as nursing homes on that capacity. So we expect that our turnaround times will remain very good, but as demand increases, that will tend to lengthen the turnaround times. We strive for 1 to 2 days from the time the specimen hits the lab, and we're constantly, 24 hours a day, churning these tests. But we may see a situation in the next 4 to 8 weeks where we see those timeframes increase.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Just a statement as far as testing goes with Lehigh Valley Hospital, and with a person who's spent a lot of time there in the last month or so. I've had 3 COVID tests, and the longest I had to wait was 2 days. So their turnaround's very fast.
Good to hear.
No, thank you. Hopefully we could have you back in the fall and give us some update on how the testing's going. That would be great.
Be happy to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the time.
Any other questions? Motion to move forward?
So moved.
Thank you. A resolution, let me see. Regarding a proposal for COVID testing in the Northampton County Prison using CARES Act funding.
So the prison has done a fantastic job keeping COVID out of the facility. The corrections officers, all who were infected, are through their quarantine periods and back to work. There's currently no inmates or corrections officers in the facility that are infected. So they're doing a fantastic job. But I don't think that it is wise for us to rest on our laurels when it comes to a population as captive as that population necessarily is. And Prime Care Medical has come up with a testing regime, both for inmates and for officers, over the next 6 months for this $200,000, which to me is a tremendously efficient use of these funds when you consider the potentiality. If you know, all you have to do is Google prisons and COVID to find out what can happen in a correctional facility with this highly contagious disease. So that's the plan, and Prime Care Medical has done an excellent job thus far with the prison, and I can't see why we wouldn't follow their recommendation for testing if we had the money.
Okay,
We have the money, and go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, I would like to hear more about the testing. You said they have a testing
Yeah, they have a plan.
regime. So could you speak a little more to what they're planning to do? Because you said concentrate.
Well, sure. First of all, with our corrections officers, they're going to do antibody testing. Because in Prime Care Medical's view, COVID-19 testing people who live outside of the facility doesn't make a great deal of sense. Because today you could be negative and tomorrow positive. So you'd have to test corrections officers every single day, and that's not possible. Just isn't possible. So they think antibody testing is a better way for them to get a handle on the corrections officers who have already been exposed. And that's what they're going to do with them. They will test all new inmates during the course. So everybody who's coming in will be given a COVID test. And then they will periodically test inmates throughout the time period. Over a 6-month period. So they will stay on top of it. And then they'll be able, as soon as they get a positive, even if they're asymptomatic, they'll be able to shut that unit down, and everybody will be quarantined in that unit and hopefully contain the infection in that unit.
How many units are dedicated? Do they have like a pre,
No,
or they have just one?
it just depends on where they pop, right? So they don't move people around. As soon as
So
someone
once
in,
it's there, that unit is quarantined?
correct.
Okay. Other questions?
Coming in, they're being tested and isolated before they move into general population?
Yes. The director, Castor, and I were just discussing this, and the time period is moving down. They were 10 days. They're moving down because the facility is starting to fill up again.
Okay.
Court's back in
Yeah.
session. Any other question? Motion to move forward to tomorrow evening? So moved, thank you. Next is discussion regarding a substantial amendment to Northampton County's fiscal year 2019 annual action plan to include CARES Act's Emergency Solutions Grant 2 funding. Hang on. Yes.
Good evening again.
Hi.
This is the second phase of the ESG 2 monies. We put it into the budget, and this is a resolution now to accept it so we can actually add it into our HUD program.
So is this related to the next one, or is the next? Rapid rehousing, homeless prevention.
I believe this was part of the budget amendment that was previously discussed,
Right,
correct?
is that the?
correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions? Motion to move forward? So moved. All right, and one more, discussion regarding a proposal to apply for and accept funds through the Blight Remediation Program.
Good evening, everybody. The Department of Community and Economic Development has identified a grant opportunity through the state for blight remediation funds, and we are proposing to seek a $300,000 grant that will be used to demolish the Glendon Hotel and hopefully do some site preparation there for some housing.
Did y'all catch that one? Oh, Mono. I have no questions, and I heartily support this.
We're hoping.
Yes, sir.
But the resolution's asking for 300,000.
That's what we're going to be applying for from the Department of Community and Economic Development at the state. It does require a 10% match.
Okay.
The General Purpose Authority has agreed to provide the match.
So Glendon's coming down.
Yes, sir.
Can you use some of that to put a plaque where it was, to put Mr. Barron's name on it?
Steve Barron was here.
Historical marker.
We can put it across the street on the railroad marker, okay?
Steve Barron said this would be taken care of.
I don't have anything. Silly.
Can I move it?
No.
Anything you want.
Ron,
Motion to
move it,
move forward
Ron.
to tomorrow night. So moved. With that, yes, sir.
One quick question, any updates on the audit from RKL?
Right.
Yes, we have a management letter. Stuff is being compiled now. So we did get a management letter, and there are no material deficiencies or anything to speak of, but you should see that very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Okay. Let me see.
What's that?
Tara? Tara, we're adjourned now. You talk to her, I don't know. I can't get it.
Tara? I don't know.